HealthTeam Advantage. We're down at the Creative Aging Network kitchen again. And today we're going to kind of talk to you about making some healthy, nutritious snacks at home that you can do yourself. Because a lot of times when people are trying to quit smoking, for example, they get a lot of cravings and urges to want to snack a lot. And they're worried about weight gain. So sometimes they don't stop smoking as soon as they want to just because they're worried about the weight gain. So we're going to talk to you guys about helping with some healthy, nutritious snacks to offset that so you don't have to worry about the weight gain. However, just keep in mind that over 500,000 Americans die from smoking each year. And if you want to get enrolled in a Quit Smart smoking program like the ones we use at HealthTeam Advantage, you can check out our website. And that is one of the smartest things you can do for your health right now, is to start taking those steps to quit smoking. But before you make any changes to your diet, exercise, medication routine, please check in with your primary care physician to make sure that you get the proper guidance you need. All right, Chef, so what are you going to be making for us today?
I'm going to be making some kale chips and some healthy dipping options for our hummus.
Great.
And I really love hummus because it's so versatile. You can make it spicy, you can actually make it sweet. You can add and subtract a lot of things. Same with the kale chips can be a lot of fun. You can make taco ones, you can make pizza ones, you can make sour cream, you can make basically any flavored chip that you get in a bag, you can make kale chips out of. I prefer these two. I do suggest the low sodium taco seasoning though. I didn't have that, but.
Right, because the taco seasoning, you can use the Old El Paso like you're showing there, or Mrs. Dash has a good one that you can use. You can use any of those spices that you like to demonstrate when we're going through some of our cooking sessions and make it taste like you want, right?
Yes, and the most important thing is high flavor and very good for you. We're going to have a lot of different textures. We have options here with the harder pita chips. We have some softer pita chips that you can actually throw in the toaster to make them a little more crispy.
Oh, great.
And I just like a lot of different textures, and sometimes some carrots can be really sweet. Sometimes bell peppers can be a little bit on the spicy side, but like the least amount of spice in the pepper world.
And one of the things that you're demonstrating as well is things that you might already be buying at the grocery store anyway for other things, and you can easily make them into quick and easy snacks. And you're going to demonstrate how we take the skin off of this cucumber?
So I'm not going to take all the peel off. I actually like the flavor of the peel. I'm just going to make it look a little pretty. It looks a little plain and simple now, but when you cut it up, I think it looks really cool. And who knows, maybe you'll impress some friends. Yeah, and I think that the fun thing about cucumbers is that you can make them thin, you can make them thick, you can make sticks for easy dipping.
And a lot of times this time of year, people are growing them in their gardens. You can go to the farmer's market, you can find all kinds of inexpensive vegetables that you can snack on, and sometimes, making them look more appetizing encourages more people to eat more vegetables. So I know even for kids, it's the same way. If they look really cute and cool, they tend to eat more of them.
Sometimes, if you're new at cutting cucumbers and you want to cut little pieces, sometimes the skin can be a little rough. And if you have a dull knife, which I always preach you should have a sharp knife, but always keep the skin side down.
That's
because on dull knives, you can slip off the tip and hit your finger.
Exactly.
So skin down, much easier, glides through, cuts it through.
That looks great. And I like to use those little matchstick style as well, so that's a good tip for chopping it that way, so you can use them to dip.
Yes, you can get them pre-cut, although a lot of people don't understand the most expensive thing in the kitchen is labor. Yes. So if you get something that's pre-cut already, it will be more expensive. Again, I'm going to preach about sharp knives because carrots can be a little dangerous. So what I do is I go very softly, I make a little dent in it, and then I take my fingers away and then continue through the cut.
That's great.
Now with carrots, you put the flat side down so it won't rock, right, when you touch it like this. So again, a little start like this and then push through.
That's
Okay.
right.
Now, don't go as fast as I am because I'm a professional, but
And you know, you brought up a good tip as you're cutting those up about beverages and saying that you could add the cucumbers into lemonade, you can add it into water. If you want to make like a summertime spritzer with some of the sparkling water, cucumbers are great to do that. It gives you more hydration. Also looks good, it tastes great, and you know, when you're trying to quit smoking as well, not only do you get hungry for snacks or you feel like you need to do something with your hands, so a good way to offset cravings and things like that is also to stay good and hydrated. A lot of people will also increase their beverage intake. Sometimes it's not calorie free, so that can increase what you're getting in as far as calories and make you also gain a little weight. So to kind of offset that, adding something like cucumber or some of those easy veggies to a water would be a good way to do that. So that was also a great tip.
and honestly, if you're bored, you're gonna want to smoke, right? This takes up some time. I actually think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You can play with the colors, you can play with the textures, you can play with any vegetable you want. As you see here, a lot of people kind of get intimidated by plating, but look how easy this is. It's already starting to look cute.
It is, and it's great.
I
like
want
you
to eat
said.
it already.
And you know, when you're snacking one by one, piece by piece, it gives you something to do with your hands instead of the cigarette motion hand to mouth, which gives you more time to think about why you're snacking, checking in with your hunger level. Is this really hunger? Is it a craving because I want a cigarette instead? So lots of good tips right there.
Yeah, and then, you know, in the professional kitchen, I'd be wearing gloves, but I always try to overemphasize, this is not a Michelin restaurant. We are supposed to be at home
Right.
cooking. This is supposed to be fun. A lot of people don't have access to gloves. Just wash your hands thoroughly several times and in between tasks, and you should be fine. So the way I like to cut peppers is I put the top down, I start on the side, and I don't cut all the way through the middle. I go around the core and down. I know it sounds complicated, but it's actually not complicated. You put your fingers on top, and then you just break it off like that. And then usually the top comes off, right? So you don't even have to take the top off. You take the middle out, done.
Yeah, that's easy because a lot of times you have a lot of those little seeds all sticking to it, but with that demonstration, the seed just kind of goes with the little top.
Yeah, and a lot of people are intimidated by getting whole fruits and vegetables, but really I'll show you how easy it is.
Yeah.
Boom, done.
And like I said, right now, all of these colorful, delicious, high snacky type foods, you don't want to use things that are high in calories, but these veggies are also high in fiber, low in calories that help you fill up and make you feel more satisfied when you're snacking versus reaching for something that's going to be easily digested and out of your system quickly. This is going to take a little longer for you to chew it, a little longer for you to digest it, and it's delicious and nutritious for you.
Yeah.
It's a win-win all the way around.
And personally, I love to play with textures when I'm eating.
Yeah.
It keeps it interesting, and
Look
a
at the
lot of
pretty
times,
colors.
yeah, a lot of times, like if you're eating like maybe ribs or pizza and it's the same flavor every single bite, it gets really boring to me. So sometimes I even like to take maybe a little hot sauce, or there's a powder called tagine, which has acid like lemon and a tiny bit of peppers in it, and then sprinkle a little bit on top of some of it. And with the pita chips, like I said, you can keep them raw like this out of the bag, put them in a toaster, make them nice and toasty, or just go with the cheap sea salt, low sodium option, and you know, just more textures.
Mm-hmm.
With the plating I'm doing here, you can see it's already super easy. Cut this in half, turn it in half, turn it a quarter turn, and then a quarter turn, and that's it.
And again, you're making these bite-sized so you can monitor your portions, you have a lot to share with other people, or if you're snacking throughout the day, you know, you take one of the veggie, take one of the little pita chips, dip it in, what's the next thing you're making, Chef? Is it gonna be the hummus or the kale chips?
Going to be making a little kale chips right now, so we can be ready for the end of the presentation, and then we're going to make a hummus to dip all this goodness in.
Great.
Okay, now I'm going to start with kale. Again, no need to be intimidated. You can see it actually comes pretty much folded already. All you have to do is take a little knife and follow the spine down, right down, boom.
Comes right
That's
off.
how easy that is.
Great.
Now I like to make it a little bit more potato chip size, so I will cut them into more like strips like this.
Great.
Again, folded like that. You just follow the spine down,
All right.
being careful with your fingers. Cut it into more manageable pieces.
And kale is also one of those easy vegetables that a lot of times a lot less expensive in the grocery store than maybe some of your other veggies. So the more you have on hand, you can either eat them in a salad, you can bake them up in the oven like he's doing to make chips out of them.
Yeah, my favorite is to make a avocado kale salad, which is super good for you and
Absolutely.
super easy to make. You can even get guacamole and throw these in there.
Yeah. And you see how curly and pretty they also look on the plate.
Yeah, and a lot of people are like, oh, healthy chips, blah, blah, blah. I'm not sure if that's going to be good. Literally, you can play with this so much that you can make any flavor you want. And I literally, if you do a comparison side by side and you think about how healthy it is, I'd rather have these plentiful than a bag of chips.
Absolutely. And you know, one of the things about kale and vegetables like this, if you imagine your measuring cup, a whole cup of your kale chips and a whole cup of these lovely vegetables are less calories than 2 Oreo cookies. So if you're snacking and you're wanting to add more variety, lots of things that you can go and grab piece by piece that kind of takes up your hand motion. Again, when you're trying to cut down on any type of habit and change behaviors, especially something as strong as smoking, that's something you really need to pay attention to. Because imagine if you only had a couple of Oreo cookies for 150 calories, but then you have a whole cup of veggies and a whole cup of kale chips that you can snack on throughout the whole day for less than 150 calories. What a great trade-off, right?
And a lot of people are worried about gaining weight afterwards because of the motions and the oral fixation. And with this, don't worry about it. You can just shove as much as you want in your mouth. So just to lightly oil them, I literally just throw a couple tablespoons. There's no need to like measure. Like I said, you're at home. I like to use extra virgin olive oil. The smoke point is a little lower than I like to use for like frying and pan frying, but for hummus, the flavor's there, and you just don't want to drench them. You just want to touch them with oil just so they don't dry out completely.
And you know, I have a little spritzer that I like to use sometimes to control how much oil goes on stuff. Do you find that that's easy to use? In the
Actually,
kitchen?
that's exactly what I use at home. I have a little spray bottle from Pampered Chef. And go ahead.
The oil also comes in different flavors sometimes too that you can get to, so you don't have to add extra seasonings. The olive oil itself has a little seasoning. So I think that could be something else that you could introduce into your kale chips if you decide you want a little different flavor with the olive oil you can play around with. If you don't like things that are spicy, like say for example, you know, you eat spicy things and you kind of get a little regurgitation or it irritates your throat or your stomach,
Acid reflux.
you can just do simply something like sea salt or just a little sprinkling of salt and pepper, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You know, the wife likes the salt and vinegar. All you have to do is get a little acid, maybe like apple cider.
Okay.
It adds a little bit of a tang to it, and
So
if
with
you have
acid,
enough,
you mean vinegar or something like that. Okay.
lime, lemon.
And red wine vinegar is another option for vinegars that are really tasty in some of the veggie options.
Okay, I'm just going to put this in at a low temp, around 250, 275, for about 15 to 20 minutes.
Okay.
Depending on how bad you want them, how well done you want them, how much texture. You can, like I said, you can always play with the time. I know some people like to put them in for a low temp at like half an hour, so they're super, super crispy.
Okay.
I don't really like them like that. They fall apart a little bit too much, but
But if you like them really crispy, you just leave them a little longer, right?
a little longer, yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, Chef, so now we're over here with the stove and the stove top, the oven, and you're gonna get started with the kale on this side over here.
Yeah, and normally you'd use a flat pan like to have more surface area and not block any wind from the convectional oven. You don't have to use a convection oven, it's just obviously adds a little bit more dehydration to it.
All right.
But as you see how easy this is, all we did was add a little bit of oil, a splash here and there.
Okay.
You don't really want to layer these too much. You want all the air and heat to get to every individual piece.
All right.
But that's about it right there.
And if you were putting it in the oven on a sheet pan, for example, if you want to make a bunch at one time, to make a whole bunch at one time, you do the same preparation and then you just put it on a sheet pan and put it in the oven the same way. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay, great.
All right, now let's get to our hummus. One of our previous shows, we talked about anti-inflammatories.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I didn't have the fresh garlic, but we were going with the dry.
Okay.
And all of this you should probably have at home, except for maybe chickpeas.
Okay.
You can find chickpeas for, I think, literally about 80 cents. This one is the store brand from Publix. I think this one costs about 78 cents to 97 cents or something like that. Really easy and convenient. Just pull tab.
Okay.
Literally, I would empty a little of the juice out, just because we don't want that extra liquid in the hummus.
Okay.
And this is how easy this is going to be.
All right.
Dump that. Now, again, with measurements, we don't really use, I don't want you guys to be intimidated by measurements, but this is tahini. You can actually leave this out. This is pure sesame seed.
Okay.
This is how much I'm going to add. And done. I personally like to make roasted red pepper. Hummus is one of my all-time favorites. You can also buy canned pimentos, I guess they call them down here, and add those too.
Okay.
A little bit of garlic, I'd say about a teaspoon.
Okay.
We got the sea salt,
All right.
just a little pinchy pinch there.
Okay.
And salt and pepper is kind of the basis of any good dish. This also looks a little intimidating. This is an immersion blender. You immerse it into liquids. A lot of people would use a blender for this, but I'm going to suggest you go out and get one of these. I believe this is a KitchenAid. I think it was just about $30 to $40. So this is how easy this is going to be to make hummus. I would say about maybe half a cup of olive oil.
Okay. And can you use a little bit less if you decide that it's too oily?
You can actually, but this is actually what binds it. So this is what actually makes it thicker.
All right.
A lot of people think you add liquid and it makes it liquidy.
Okay.
If you add too much of this, it'll actually become paste.
Great. Okay.
So
Good tip.
half a cup to start, and you might have to add a little bit later. This is literally probably about not even 1 minute of grinding.
And I like how you're doing the motion kind of up and down, not really going around and around. Which is
Yeah,
great.
while you're doing it, you can kind of see there's some whole garbanzo beans on top.
Okay.
So I'm just really mixing it up like this, getting it out like that, and we're literally almost done. I'm gonna get a little bit more of a texture, a more velvety texture to it.
So you can adjust it to make it whatever texture you want, right?
Yes, and you can add a little water. Some people like their hummus a little thinner.
Okay.
I like it thick so it doesn't fall off. Like for instance,
Your chips.
one of these cucumbers has a lot of water in it, and dips will tend to slide off of it. A lot of people will dip their cucumber in ranch and go to bite it, and there's no ranch on it.
Awesome.
So
That looks great.
yeah, and some people add a little acid to this, like a tiny bit of lemon juice.
Okay.
I would say if you had a lemon, just literally a little squeeze like that. But I think we're just about done right there.
that was
That's how
yummy.
easy that was.
Yummy, yummy.
After you're done with this, you can keep most things in the fridge that aren't meat and poultry for about 7 days. So here's our final product. You can see it looks very, very nice. And like I said before, you can take these out. These are raw out of the bag. You can take these out if you want a little bit more texture and add these.
Okay.
These also come in flavors too. She mentioned that you want to keep it interesting and to fight off the cravings. We don't want you to smoke again, right?
Right.
The worst is when you quit and then you start again. So
Yes.
this will help. You can sub those out and how good is that look? Boom. Here they are out of the oven. As you can see, that was pretty easy. I would actually suggest if you had a sheet tray to put them on a cookie cooling rack to get the air through them a little bit easier. But
That's great.
yeah, that's a little
And they're
pro tip.
nice. They're nice and crunchy. They look wet, but they're not. They're nice and crunchy. And you know, one of the things, what do you suggest? I find when I've made them, sometimes I go to store them because I didn't eat them all in the day, and they get a little limp. What do you suggest for that to kind of offset that?
Actually, you can put them in a plastic bag, but I would add napkins to them.
Okay.
Like put napkins on the bottom, throw them on top of that, and then maybe a napkin on top.
Okay.
And then you don't really necessarily have to seal it all the way, just seal it mostly and leave the corner undone.
Okay. Perfect.
And pro tip for everybody today, little safety tips. Anything that's hot, you want to keep a towel on it. So like,
Okay.
let's say you finish, like you start your steak or chicken on top of the stove, and then you finish it in the oven, you always put a towel, which means to anybody that don't grab this is hot. So you
Okay.
grab it by the towel.
All right.
Also, when you're cutting with a cutting board, you always want to have a slightly wet, damp towel underneath,
That's great.
because if you notice, I'm going to be cutting,
And it
it
doesn't
moves.
slide.
One finger, it
Yeah.
slides, right? If you add the slightly damp towel to it on the bottom,
Awesome.
it's not going anywhere.
I like that. Thank you guys for joining us again for another Living Plus moment with HealthTeam Advantage down at the Creative Aging Network Kitchen. And hopefully you'll find some useful tips that Chef Rocky has made for you today that you can use every day, and especially if you're trying to quit smoking or just helping change making some healthier behavior changes. For more information, you can check out our website at healthteamadvantage.com.
Any questions, leave a comment below and I'll try to answer anything you got. Thank you.